we started out our class today, we started out by chanting the first of, by the way, I have to just tell you. So here, this text here that I mentioned, that is the system of Raja Yoga. The way we know it now is a book called the Yoga Sutras. You should write that down. So I wrote YS, Yoga Sutras. And again, you're going to get a full detailed lecture on the Yoga Sutras later, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But sutra comes from suture, and it basically means it's a thread to stitch, and it's the idea is it's just little short bits, little bits of tidbits of information. The Yoga Sutra is a text that is 196 aphorisms, and it was written by a guy named Patanjali. This system of Yoga Sutras that he wrote down, it's important to know that he is the way that we have learned the system of Raja Yoga, but he did not create this system. He didn't invent the 8 limbs of Raja Yoga. He didn't invent this system. He basically many people were writing this down. The earliest text I read was like, he basically took a bunch of different stuff and he put it together, and he put it together really well. He's essentially the person that, like, I can't think of an example, but you know how like books, like somebody writes some book on something and it's like, it does so well, you're like, yeah, everybody else has written a book on that. Like, they just somehow nailed it and it became a bestseller. Like, that's what Patanjali did. He basically just took all this stuff, put it together in these 196 aphorisms, and it became a bestseller that we call the Yoga Sutra. And in the Yoga Sutra, he does bring in aspects of Buddhism. That's where we get the 8 limbs. Other things from Buddhism, which we'll talk more about later, the Pratipakshabhavana, the cultivating the opposite energy. A lot of the stuff in the Yoga Sutra, all basically just, I'm not going to say ripped off, but he skillfully describes many different ideas. The 8 limbs comes from the Eightfold Path of Buddhism, etc., etc. But the main underlying, the main cosmology of the Yoga Sutra is a cosmology that is called Samkhya. S-A-M or N, you can do either one. K-H-Y, no H. K-Y-A, Samkhya. And Samkhya is essentially a system, Samkhya Karika. Samkhya Karika means enumeration, literally means enumeration. And what Samkhya does is it seeks to describe what our human experience is and how we experience it. So earlier we were talking about that we have senses that drive our mind, right? Like I smell something and then I'm thinking about the flower. Samkhya basically explains you've got these 5 senses. You have these different sense organs, the way you experience the sense. I've got a nose, I've got ears, I've got, hands that touch. It discusses organs of action. I've got feet that walk. It basically describes these senses are connected to the different elements on the planet. There's fire, there's air. I experience fire because I look at it and I see it with my eyes, type of thing. And it basically goes to describe how we experience the world. It spends a lot of time on that. And basically the whole point Sankhya makes is that there's the us that is experiencing senses, like all this stuff, and the us that's experiencing all this stuff is not consciousness. True consciousness is separate from our minds that race, our desires, our emotions, our senses, all these things. Consciousness always is. It never came to be, it never will cease to be. It just is. Consciousness doesn't own anything. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't take form. It doesn't take action. Consciousness just is. In this system, consciousness is called Purusha. And another way to say that, we could call Purusha the witness. And in this system, the system of two, there is the witness, there's everything else. Everything else is called prakriti. So in this system, you've got the Purusha, witness consciousness, and then you have that which it can witness, which is everything else. It witnesses your mind thinking, it witnesses your emotions, it witnesses all of your senses, giving you thoughts and emotions. It witnesses your body out there doing its thing. It's the elements that are in the planet. It witnesses all this stuff, and so it basically goes on and explains all of that. And it basically says that the problem is when you misidentify. True consciousness could never be touched by matter.